13 of South Holston River Fly Shop fly tying videos. I'm your host, Josh McFadden. Today we're going to be tying one of Rod's blue wing nymph patterns. Now our blue wing season is just about coming to a close, which is a real good reason why we need to have a pattern that looks as good as this one. We're going to be tying this pattern today in a size 18. So we're going to use a standard nymph hook, a TMC 9300 in a size 18. You could get away with either a 5/64 or a 1/16 black nickel bead, depending on the size and how exactly you want that bead to look. We're going to be using an olive 8/0 thread. For the tails and the legs, we're going to be using a green grizzly saddle hackle. Now this comes normally in a pack for streamers. But there's some good speckling on these feathers, and these streamer hackles are available at the shop. Some real good speckling on these feathers, and they're real durable. So a lot of times on our nymphs, instead of using something like that's going to tear up, like partridge or wood duck or mallard flank, I should say, we'll end up turning to something like a saddle hackle feather and stripping off some of the barbs to tie in for tails and legs. And while they're not as thick, they do provide a lot of good movement, and they're very, very durable. They're just not going to tear up. For the abdomen, we're going to be using this micro tubing in an olive brown, and this is a hairline product, and it's real small olive color. You can really stretch it while you're wrapping to keep a slender abdomen. For our thorax area, we're going to be using this Awesome Possum Natural Nymph dubbing. I had asked Rod why he chose this particular dubbing, and it's his #1 choice in dubbing because of how easy it is to dub on, and that is just the case. It's very, very easy to dub this Awesome Possum dubbing on. You just have to use a very, very sparse amount, but you can really get very slender buildup, which is what we're looking for in a blue wing olive nymph. And then for the wing case, we're going to be using black scudback like we've used before. The pattern calls for a 2mm scudback. Now I have my 1/8 scudback, and I've just cut it in half. The 2mm is available at the shop if you'd like to just go ahead and purchase that. And so we're going to go ahead and get to tying. All right, guys, we got our hook and our bead. We've got our hook and our bead already mounted in the vise. We go ahead and start the 8/0 olive thread. Put down a little base layer. Trim off the excess. Now we're going to take our saddle feather and we're going to stroke these fibers down. This is an olive grizzly saddle. We're going to stroke them all down, and you'll see that the fibers will stand out at a right angle. So I'm going to grab a bunch of these, probably about 6 or 8, and I'm going to clip them off with my scissors so that I can keep the tips even so that I can tie my tail. Okay. Now the next thing to do is to measure how long you want the tails to be. Now I want my tails to be the full shank length hanging off the back. So I'm going to measure it to begin with across the top of the shank. Then I'm going to re-grab in the left hand and go ahead and tie down. Okay, and every time, and I'm right here, right above where the barb would be, I'm going to just wrap forward, trying to keep those tailing materials on the top of the hook. Okay, and it's just going to give a little bit of an impression of tails right there. Clip off my butt ends, don't need those anymore. And so here we go. Put my first wrap down on it, pull tight, and now I'm pulling tight as I wrap back over top of that, heading towards the back of the abdomen. Okay, and so what I'm doing there is limiting the buildup of that tubing. So we want this fly to remain very slender. Now I'm going to come in here and get this little piece of tubing out of there where I tied it in. And that's going to be real small like we need it to be. Okay, now I'm going to come back forward and build up a little bit of an underbody, not very much. Just a very slight taper here by going back 2 times. And I'm going to run up to the thorax area, leave my thread on the dangle out of the way, And I'm going to go ahead and pull tight and get my abdomen built up. This stretch tubing does a real good job of number one, providing segments, but number two, being very durable, and it's something that's gummy that the fish can kind of really chew into, just like our D-rib that we use so much on other nymphs. It's just a really great material to work with. Okay, I'm going to wrap up about halfway with that, a little bit past halfway, and that's going to be our abdomen. I'm going to tie that off. Now I'm going to take 2 wraps right here, maybe 3 wraps right here just to secure, and then I'm going to run my thread in front and make 2 wraps. 1, 2. Okay, and now that shouldn't come springing out of there. I'm going to pull up tight and snip. Alrighty. Now, I've cut my piece of scud back in half already because I have the 1/8 inch scud back. I'm wanting 2 mil stuff. So, I've already cut it in half, and I've prepared it ready to tie in. If you want to buy the 2 mil, you can go ahead and do that. I'm going to tie my scud back in right here. And we always tie the scud back in like this and leave it hanging out over the back of the hook, you see. And so after we dub, we'll be able to pull this forward and complete our wing case. All right. Now I'm going to take just a little bit of this awesome possum dubbing, okay, and I'm going to go ahead and dub a very small noodle, probably no longer than 1 inch. And just to wrap my thorax here and get a nice little ball for a thorax going. I don't want anything on this nymph to build up too quickly. And if you need to wrap, you know, like that first little bunch wasn't enough, so come in here again and I'll do it a second time to get my build up where I want it. I don't want a ton of dubbing, but just a fair amount. Now you can see there's a lot of bugginess to this dubbing, so you'll get these little kind of guard hairs and stuff that stick out, and that's not a bad thing, but we want to trim the ones that are extraordinarily long, and we can do some more trimming too when we finish up the fly. And I want them to be about as long as the hook is. Okay, just pinch and make 1, 2, 3 loose wraps right there. Okay, and there's my legs on that side. And I'm going to trim off here my excess. Tie that on the far side, pinch down here after I get it measured. And 1, 2, 3, just like that. Little bit of flaring action there. Alright, now that's ready to go. Trim off my butts there. And I'm going to tidy up really quickly with these little butts. And kind of roll this over here just a little bit. Now I'm ready to pull the wing case forward. Okay, now this wing case is going to complete the deal, complete the transaction, and I'm going to take 3 wraps over top of it, and this is going to be cinched in right behind the bead. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and maybe one more just for good measure. Now I'm going to make one just behind there by pulling it back just behind the bead. Make 2 wraps right there. Pull up tight and trim off. Throw a whip finish in it. 1, 2, 3. Whip it off. Make sure that whip finish is snugged in. Okay. Now these legs are long, and that's the way that Rod likes them. And you can, you know, if you want to trim them off, fine. Trim them off a little bit or whatever. But if you know, I look at it this way: if it's not broke, don't fix it. This fly is killer the way that it is, and you know, who am I to mess with something that works? So that's a really good imitation of these blue-wing olive nymphs, and tie some up for your box and use them for the rest of this season and anywhere that there's blue-wing olives or small Baetis nymphs. Happy time.